Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Rob Folia, real estate broker, author, real estate coach, here with a market update. It's the first of the month. It's the first week, workday, I should say, of the month. And so it's time to dive in to see what's happening in the real estate market. Now, I've got Real Tracks pulled up on my screen. I'll show it to you in a second. We're going to dive in, look at the numbers, live to tape, so to speak, and see what's happening. I'm curious because, man, I am seeing some things in the market, not only with my listings, but with listings of other agents at my brokerage as well, and just things that I'm hearing. And man, I'm curious. So let's dive right in. Let's take a look, see what's happening in the market. And so again, I've got Real Tracks pulled up because this is what we always use. In fact, hey, before we do, let's start this how we always start it, and that's looking at interest rates. I didn't pull this up because I've been keeping my eyes on it, and as you can see, it's been flat. I mean, really since here when this change here in February. We're in August now, so it's been almost 6 months where we've been in the, according to Freddie Mac at least, so from 6.6 to 6.8, 6.6 something to 6.8 something. That is extremely flat. So I mean, it is what it is. And that, man, that impacts affordability big time because I've been seeing and talking to buyers, agents who they've been saying how basically rates are crushing them when it comes to affordability. Let's just dive in though. Let's just start by looking at Nashville. Now, it's the first of the month, so we've got our up-to-date stats. So we've got numbers for July. I'm curious to see what we're looking at. And a couple of things that I'm seeing right off the rip is, let's start with this: new listings. New listings, as you can see, is down 17%. Not a bad thing when we're in a market where inventory seems to be rising. But if inventory is rising and new listings are down, well, what does that mean? Well, look right here, active inventory up 30%. Man, that's a huge jump. 30% year over year. Man, that is tremendous. Under contracts are actually down, as you can see right here. What else did I want to look at here? Months of supply. So again, if you're new to these videos, months of supply is just kind of a it's a stat that tells us how quickly homes are selling, meaning if no other home were to ever hit the market in July of 2024, it would have taken 4.5 months for these 1,700 homes to sell based on how quickly things were selling. Well, right now, it's going to take about 5.3 months for these 2,200 homes. That's a pretty big jump and a pretty big difference. I wish we could go back further here than 5 years to really show you months of supply. And shame on Real Tracks for not giving us more data than this. They used to have like 15 years worth of data, and they just dumped it to 5. And that's Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee Real Tracks for you. It is what it is. And yet, when we look at this, we see that, I mean, this is trending the wrong way for us at 5.3. Now, granted, it's lower than we saw in January, but Januaries are usually a spike. End of the year, beginning of the next, you can see a spike here in January of 24, spike here in January of 23. I bet you this is a spike, yep, 22. So that's normal. The fact that this is trending up to this, I mean, this is the highest we have seen in a non-January month. Well, I guess November of last year was technically a little above it, but still, that's the end of the year. This is the highest we've seen for a July. Look, 4.5 months, almost 4 months, 3.8, 3.9, 2.5. I mean, this is a steady trend upward of what we're seeing, showing that we're hitting a balanced market. 5 to 7 months is considered balanced. Less than 5 is considered a seller's market. More than 7 is considered a buyer's. And then the further you stray from that balanced area is how extreme it is. So like if we were at, like down here, when we were at 1.1 months of supply in March of 22, like that was the most extreme of the extreme sellers markets. I wish I could go back and show you the market of 2010, just say, but we were at 10, 11, 12 months, depending on the city and the zip. So we're in the middle of that right now. 5.3. The interesting thing that I think, and what I think is paramount, and I want you to hear this, is that this is a tipping point. Rarely do markets stay in this balanced area. Usually they either go up or they go down. And so I personally believe this number right here, interest rates, that's going to impact what this number does and what the market ends up doing more than anything. It's a battle of affordability. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It's the fact that a home is not quite as affordable as a home buyer wants it to be, and yet because the amount of homes that have been out there, like in fact, let's just look at Total inventory. We'll just start there. Um, because this has not been extremely high, then, and you can see it's climbing big time right now. And yet, because this has not been extremely high, it's caused values to continue to go up. But the more this goes up and the more we see the supply and demand start to even out and demand begin to be less than supply, well, that's going to cause the market to shift. Now, if homes were more affordable and if they weren't 6.72% for the average rate right here, but just say they were 5% or 4% again, like, and that might sound extreme, and it is extreme if you look at a 1 year trend, but if you look at a 5 year trend, man, if rates were where they were in February of 22, or gosh, even in April of 22 when they started to rise and they were at about 5%, man, that would impacts affordability in a huge way. In fact, here, I wasn't gonna get into this, but hey, let's just look at some numbers. Let's nerd out on some numbers with me for just a minute, just so you can see exactly what we're doing and what I'm talking about. So let's just pick a $500,000 home. Let's say you have, say you're putting 20% down. I don't want to get too into everything. So you have a $400,000 loan amount. Say rates are what I say that we're here 6.72. Let's just type that in 6.72. Here, I like round numbers. Let's just call it seven. A round number is going to be easier for us to work with. Let's say property taxes are 3 grand. You won't have PMI, and let's just say your homeowner's insurance is 1,500. It could be more, it could be less. Let's just leave it at that. So if you look at this and you calculate, oh, I don't want refi. I want buy. No, here we go, buy. So let's just look at that. Your payment would be $3,000, a little more than 3 grand a month. Now, if we don't change anything other than rates, so I'm going to leave everything else the same. Let's just say it's 5%, right? So we dropped it 2% for a rate. Well, here's the trick, and I'm going to show you what the difference here. So now at 5%, you're at about 2,500. So that's a huge jump, a huge drop, I should say. That's about a 16-ish% drop in payment. Now, for an old rule of thumb is that for every 1% rates increase or decrease, it makes somebody's home payment increase or decrease by about 10%. Meaning, if a rate drops 1%, that means their principal and interest payment drops about 10%. And so, I mean, it's that's basically what we're seeing right here. Um, anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I think this right here, the total inventory and this supply and demand, that is going to be just dictated by this. And if in the next 3 months we saw rates go to 5%, that's going to help rate. That's going to help move inventory. That's going to make homes affordable, and that's going to make buyers want to get out and buy. If we see rates stay the same or go up, expect this to go up. And it's just the trend line. The reason I'm saying that is if you look at the trend line, and let's not calculate this monthly. Let's say let's round this out a little bit, and let's just take a 6 month rolling bell curve here. I mean, you can see a pretty clear line. In fact, here let's just flatten it out even more and go with a 12 month rolling supply and demand graph. You'll see it's a pretty clear straight line going up ever since rates started to rise. Which, if we looked here, we said, look, what January of 22, 3.4%. By June of 22, they were 5.7. That's a huge difference. We don't need that mortgage calculator anymore. But like, just take right here where the average months of supply for, the 12 month, I should say, rolling months of supply was around 1.5. All of a sudden, just 2 years later, when rates were 7%, they were almost 2.5 to 3 times. Now we're, at exactly 5 months when we look at a 12 month rolling. And that's just because of rates. I can just see that trend line continuing to go up until homes become more affordable, until we begin to see that, until we begin to see that more buyers want to get out there. And I just, what I want to get at here, and what I guess what is, I guess what I want to share with you right here as a takeaway from this video, because I know there's a lot of stats and everybody's different, and I don't want to scare you and be like, oh, the sky is falling or anything like that, because I don't think that the sky is falling when it comes to the real estate market. But I do believe that if you're selling a home, man, it is not what we saw a couple of years ago right now. And until rates change, it's going to be slim pickings for the buyers that are out there. And if rates go up, man, you might have wished you had sold your home here in 2025. If by this time next year, and it's all conjecture, nobody knows, but just say instead of 7%, say rates were 8% next year, well, that means a home is 10% less affordable besides the price. Well, to make it up for a buyer who can't afford the prices now at 7%, well, that means prices will drop. And if you need to sell right now, I would say sell. Work on it. It's just gonna benefit you long term. We don't know what the market's going to do long term, so this will allow you to at least move on from your current situation if you're wanting to. I'm rambling a little bit on this, and so I'll stop myself from rambling. But if you have specific questions about your situation, maybe you're thinking about moving, whatever the case might be, hit me up. Just hit the reply button if you're getting this in your inbox. If you're seeing this on socials or on YouTube, drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. I would so appreciate it. Thank y'all so much, and we will talk soon. Bye.